Hey everyone, my name is Amari and I sell Toyotas. And in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about leasing. It's something that can either attract you or steer you away from purchasing another vehicle. But I want to show you the pros and cons of leasing a new car, how it can help you and how it might hinder you in the future. So stay tuned after the intro and I'll go over all the details, all the pros and cons when it comes to leasing a new car. So when it comes to leasing, one thing I do recommend to my customers is, think about the next 1 to 2 years in your life and where you might end up and where you plan on being. Do you plan on having, a family? Do you plan on downgrading to something more fuel efficient? Do you have another vehicle? What do you need and what does your life look like? I know it might be hard to figure out what's going to be happening in the future, but it does help with determining whether leasing or financing is going to be the right choice for you. So let's create a little T-chart. We'll put pros on the left and cons on the right-hand side. So the first pro of leasing, and this is the one that attracts most people, is the lower monthly payment. Lower monthly payment. This is the one that attracts people. They see the lease figures, the lease monthly payments compared to financing, their eyes glaze over, and they're like, oh, hey, tell me more about the lease. How can I get this payment? Because it seems, I'm paying twice as much if I do finance it. So that is one of the main things for lower monthly payments when it comes to a lease. Next, one of the cons of leasing is perpetual monthly payments. If you keep leasing your vehicles over and over again, you'll have constant monthly payment. Some people are okay with it, some people are not. Some people want to just be debt-free, not to have to worry about a monthly payment. But at the same time, there's always those people, and I've met them before, who just always want the newest technology, always want the safest vehicle, always want to ensure they're getting in the most modern vehicle that they can get into, while also figuring out what they can afford, because some of them are on a fixed income and they know they'll only be able to make this payment over the course of the next however many years. And I mostly see this in retired couples who know I'll get this is going to be my monthly budget. The lease car can fit in here. One of the next pros of the lease is you're in the car during its most trouble-free years. Brakes, it's most likely going to be covered under warranty. The chances of something breaking is very low, but if it does break, you're covered by the warranty. So you're driving the vehicle during the first 3 years, which is the most trouble-free years of the car. The next con is the restriction on mileage. Some people that I've seen come in that want to get out of their lease early, they didn't know that there was a restriction on the mileage and they end up having to pay a penalty. So mileage restrictions is something that you do want to take into consideration. With a lease, you can change the amount of miles you drive. Some leases you can drive for 10,000 miles a year, and you can get up to 15,000 miles a year depending on how you structure your specific lease. So mileage restrictions is something to take into consideration. If you are a person that's going to be driving, maybe 18 to 20,000 miles a year, just because it might be your job or you do a lot of traveling, you might want to look into financing your vehicle and determining whether or not the mileage you drive is going to hinder you when you do come to turn in the lease vehicle at the end of that 3 years. The next pro is being able to get into a higher priced vehicle than you would have if you did finance it. So it's more bang for your buck. So it's more car for your dollar. Specifically, last month I saw a couple, they wanted to finance a Toyota Camry. So I said, hey, if you wanted to get into something a little bit nicer that has more standard equipment, why don't you look into leasing an Avalon? And the lease payments But the lease payments on the Avalon, the financing payments on the Camry equated to about the same. So they decided to go with the lease option because they know that they'll be able to get more vehicle and be able to pay the same amount of money as they would. And they said they were going to be, getting out of their vehicle in another 5 years or so. So I said, hey, instead of doing it in 5 years, why don't you do it in 3 years and be able to get into another car that has more updated safety, better fuel economy, and just all around a nicer car. So more car for your dollar is definitely a good pro for leasing. The next con for leasing is wear and tear. You have to take care of the car. You have to take care of your car when you do lease it. You do have penalties for excessive wear and tear. Now, when you do lease a car, they do give you standard/moderate wear and tear. If there's some scratches on the car, if there, maybe some stains on the seats, or maybe there was a slight rip somewhere, they do take into consideration that, there will be some average wear and tear. But if there's excessive wear and tear, and we're talking about dents, deep scratches, the wheels are messed up, the trunk can't close, the steering wheel, smells like chicken wings, that's excessive wear and tear. Smokers, be warned, if you do smoke in your car, that will be considered wear and tear or excessive wear and tear because cigarette smoke does stick in the seats, which will lower the value of your car. So take that into consideration when you do lease because you have to pay penalties for excessive wear and tear. That's something to discuss with your dealer about if you do decide to go with leasing a car. The next pro is you don't have to worry about trade-in value. You don't have to worry about the trading value or trying to get the best trading value for your car. When you lease a vehicle, if you stick to the mileage, if you stick to the wear and tear, your vehicle will be worth a certain amount per your contract with that company. Like I said, you're paying for that depreciation. So at the end of the 3 years, your car will be worth X amount of dollars. I think at the end of mine, they said my Corolla will be worth about $12,000 as long as I stick to the mileage restrictions and no excessive wear and tear. My car will be worth that much. That gives me peace of mind to know that, hey, if anything else happens, in excess of the wear and tear, then my vehicle value is going to go down. So I don't have to worry about trading because I do have a guaranteed vehicle value at the end of the lease. The next con is, and this is one that, definitely pisses a lot of people off, is early lease termination fees. When you lease a vehicle, you agree to own it and drive it and make your payments for those years. Typically, it's 3 years. You agree to make those payments for those 3 years. Now, when it comes to an early lease termination, if you're 2 years in, you have another 12 months to go, and you're paying $300 a month, that means you have $3,600 worth of payments that you were committed to for the end of that last year. At the end of the 2 years, you decide, hey, I want to get out of my lease vehicle. I don't want it anymore. You are still responsible for that last year of payment. And there's also going to be early lease termination penalties, and that's different per your dealership and per what car you're getting. So early lease termination fees does bite a lot of people because they don't fully understand that you are still responsible for the full amount of that lease. But if you do decide to finance a vehicle, the only thing you have to worry about is basically the depreciation. If you finance a vehicle, after 2 years you don't want it anymore, you're most likely going to owe more on that car than it is actually worth at the end of those first 2 years of ownership, specifically when you're dealing with a new car. So early lease termination fees is something you do want to talk to your dealer about and do want to figure out what those fees are so you can prepare for it in case the event does happen that you need to get out of your lease a little bit early. So we're at 4 each. We got one more to go on each side. And one of the pros of leasing, another one of the pros of leasing is you have the ability to get into another car. Able to get into a new car every 3 years. All you got to do at the end of the lease, turn in your keys and say, hey, thank you for the Corolla, but I want that Supra. Just as easy as that. You can also buy out the vehicle. You can say, hey, I love this car. It did everything I needed it to do. I named it. We've grown an attachment to it. This car is a part of me. I want to buy it out. Then you can buy out that vehicle and then finance it traditionally with your bank or whatever bank your dealership might be able to get you a better rate in. So you have the ability to get a new vehicle every 3 years if you do desire. And the last one of the cons for leasing is you can't modify your car in any way or form. So you can't get all fast and furious with your lease car. You can't put spoilers on it. You can't put aftermarket bumpers, aftermarket wheels. You can't put aftermarket spoilers, sound systems, head units. You can't get crazy. Per your lease, you have to return the vehicle as it left the showroom floor. That is one of the keys of leasing a vehicle, and that is how the manufacturer guarantees that when you do return the vehicle, they're able to give you a fair price for that car. So you can't modify it. There are a few exceptions, like tinting the windows, for example, putting in better floor mats. You can also maybe putting some sort of protective coating on the vehicle, like an Ekbond or a wax or something like that, just to protect the vehicle. So that's pretty much some of the top 5 concerns I have to explain to customers when leasing a vehicle, how it can help you and how it can hinder you if you don't take it into consideration. This is a bonus. This is a bonus pro. This is kind of the one that kind of helped me decide that I wanted to lease a vehicle instead of financing it, and is with your credit score. Most people that come in, their credit scores are either average or pretty good, but there's those other customers or clients that come in, their credit scores are very poor. They're under 650 and they need some help. They made some bad decisions in the past. When you lease a vehicle, the bank sees that you leased the vehicle, the credit bureau sees that you have a payment on a vehicle that's worth $30,000, right? You're driving a vehicle, you're financing a vehicle that's worth $30,000. But when you're leasing it, you're only paying for those first 3 years, which is about 50%. So you're actually only paying for $15,000 worth of use from that vehicle. At the end of that 3 years, your lease has been clean, has been cleared, you made all your payments, and that contract has been terminated. Now the credit bureau sees that your $30,000 payment is now completely reduced to zero. But in essence, you're only paying $15,000. And having that $30,000 payment or that $30,000 finance cleared off of your credit bureau, it increases your credit scores pretty significantly over those 3 years. It gives you a very big boost, and it allows you to potentially get lower interest rates, get into a nicer vehicle, lower your payments, and help you get to where you want to be, especially if you're looking to buy a house in the future. The side of your credit score is something that the lease does allow you to do. But do talk to your finance managers about that if you do decide to go and get a leased vehicle. So thank you for watching. Again, my name is Amari. I sell Toyotas. Just wanted to go over some very important information about leasing a vehicle, the pros and the cons, because I do believe personally that the pros for leasing definitely outweigh the cons if you do your research and if you know exactly what you need. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If this video was helpful, leave a comment. Click on the little subscribe button over here. I really appreciate it. I want to get as much information out there to the public as I possibly can to help them with their car buying decisions, because the automobile is a very important aspect of all of our lives, and I think we should be making the best decision possible when it comes to bringing a car into our lives. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.